friends, thanks for tuning into the Chamber Connection podcast. Today's episode is one you do not want to skip. We're sitting down with Kyle Romaniuk, author of EMBARK and creator of the Refraction Pathway. Kyle breaks down practical, powerful tools to help you get laser focused on your chamber goals, your personal goals, and everything you're building for 2026. If you've been feeling scattered, stretched, or stuck, this conversation will bring clarity, momentum, and purpose back into your work and all of the tools you need to get started. Seriously, this one's too good to miss, so let's jump in. Hey everyone, welcome to the Chamber Connection. Today, Steve and I have what feels like an old friend with us. Our guest today is a longtime friend of the Chamber Network and a respected voice in strategic innovation. So with nearly 3 decades, and Kyle, you don't look old enough to even match that description, but 3 decades of helping organizations from emerging startups to global brands like Red Bull, Scotiabank, Good Life Fitness. Kyle Romaniuk, did I say that right, Kyle? Close enough? Yeah, Steve had me practice a little bit. But Kyle's built a reputation for shaping authentic brand stories and cultures that fuel real growth. So having served on the Canadian, the Manitoba, and the Winnipeg Chambers of Commerce, you are no stranger to chambers. And we're going to talk today about your book, EMBARK, where you teach us the refraction process, which is a lot of different tools that entrepreneurs, but we're going to pivot it to chambers today, how they can impact their business and stay focused and maybe bring in a new strategic vision to their org. So Kyle, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
You and I met at the last conference in Mississauga. And had quite a few really interesting chats. You've got a crazy background, actually. You've done, feels like a little bit of everything. So can you maybe talk to us about how that book, EMBARK, was born? Where did all that inspiration come from, and how did you put that together?
Sure, yeah. I guess I've gone through lots of running business and being involved with different clients from all different industries, and spent about 25 years doing strategic workshops with a lot of different types of businesses. Through that process, we kind of gathered many tools over the decades, I guess. Found certain activities really helped bring people out of their shell or really understand them from the inside out, so that we could help give them a plan, give them guidance, give them clear vision that they can all be aligned together. During COVID, there was a lot of switch up where there was a lot of people thinking about how do they feel at work, and are they contributing, and are they able to not feel displaced when people were being forced to go remote, and then there is this unknown time of where do they belong. What we did is we sort of reverse engineered looking at all of the things that we had done over 30 years as an agency, and thought, what is it that we felt we made the greatest impact for all of our clients in that time? And we felt it was these workshops. Developing brands and websites and everything else that relates to implementation and ongoing development for marketing of a brand is fun and it's great, but it felt like it wasn't creating the type of impact that strategic workshops and providing sort of an external viewpoint could help. So in that, we kind of reflected and decided, let's redesign our entire experience. Let's rebrand ourselves and develop a new brand that can help people by working with them instead of doing things for them. So we started focusing on developing a specific series of workshops that would focus on creating the right environment for people, so that they could perform, have the right tools, have the right support, have the right people surrounding them, so that they could perform and feel really happy to be at work every day. So by looking at all of our tools and talking about even our own companies, what had gone wrong, what was going well, what experiences did we have in the past, and how do we make sure that we build the right culture and the right environment so that as we grow and as we add new people, and when we have to filter people out that don't fit, how do we know that we're doing this right? So we spent a lot of time reading a whole bunch of different management books. We adopted a bunch of different management processes that were really great when we didn't have one to begin with. And then over that time, we realized what we liked and didn't like from things and what was the big gap. We felt the big gap was the people side of the business. There wasn't a lot of support for how to help give someone the support they need. Also, stand back, let them learn and grow so that they can actually feel that fulfillment and that satisfaction from doing something kind of on their own. So by doing that kind of full deep dive on all of those ideas, we identified what is it that makes the perfect environment for us at our business, and what are all the kind of elements of a recipe that we feel like we would need. And we identified all the different, starting with a kind of 5 zones and going into detail on identifying 6 focus areas in each zone, which gave us 30 focus areas in total. We identified that every one of those were important to us, and we felt that they would be important to any business, regardless of industry. And we developed a quick scorecard that was a rank from 1 to 5 that said, if we're really good at it, it's 5. If we're not, it's a 1. And we found from about 60 different workshop tools that we had, we could find 30 that we could align up perfectly to those 30 focus areas. And we started using them ourselves and had really developed the management process where we realized there's a cadence to some tools that when we use them a certain way over a certain period of time, and they really helped us elevate everyone on the team, and our productivity started to go through the roof, and everyone seemed extremely happy every day. So it's like we felt like we were onto something.
Great. And
just that you got something working there. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Sorry, Steve, I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. I was just kind of agreeing with Kyle. That's quite all right. All good. I like it. Well, okay, I'll keep it going because I'm kind of curious, and I like to drive things towards like the small chamber side of things. Mm-hmm. And you know, my background being in a 1-person shop at one point for the chamber that I used to run. So shout out Small Chambers. Love those guys. But I like how you said that when you were building this all, you were kind of coming with that foundation of, you know, building tools or resources, or coming to the approach where people work on it themselves. You're not coming with a solution. It's you're coming with something, but it's up to them to kind of figure it out and come up with that roadmap, which I love about that book. It's you know, it's a do-it-yourself sort of model, and a whole bunch of different of models that you have through there. There's a ton that you got throughout that book. Going back to small chambers, because a lot of these models are kind of reflected on like teams and large scales. Sometimes for the chamber network, it's only a 1-person operating the chamber itself. Yes, there's the board inside of things, but when it comes to operational, sometimes it's just 1 person. It could be part-time, it could be full-time. Sometimes it's even more than full-time. But what are some of the like key models, or some major takeaways that like a 1-person chamber could really learn from, or start adapting in-house for them?
For sure. So I guess we've applied this refraction pathway to companies of sizes of 1 up to probably about 25. And a lot of the tools that we use have been used in large enterprise companies. So it's not like we invented all of the tools. They're all, some tools we invented, some tools they've been around for a while and they stick and they work. So they're in the book. When we look at the tools that we're implementing, the companies that I'm involved with personally myself, we're basically startups. So we're 1.5 people in each company. So very similar to the very small chamber size. And a lot of the tools that we're using, it's really about making sure that you understand where you want to go. Make sure that you've identified what are the things you need to do to help you get there or increase your odds of achieving your goal. And then just giving you that framework to follow so that you sort of have a pull system where everything that you've thought about in advance of what you want to do or need to do, they're there for you to make sure that, okay, I'm going to pull the most important thing today to work on, and it's going to be aligned to where I want to go. One of the tools in the book that we find most people kind of comment on and say this is a remarkable thing that we've never heard of before is the open window 64 chart. And that's something that sort of is getting a little bit of fame right now because of Shohei Ohtani. Plays for the Dodgers. He just won his 2nd World Series, and it was a back-to-back win the previous season as well. But when he was in high school in Japan, he learned about the Harada method. He learned about the 64 chart in particular and used that tool to identify that he has the goal to get drafted into the MLB. He identified the 8 areas that were things that he'd have to work on, from luck to flexibility, strength, how fast his fastball would be. He identified the 8 areas he needed to focus on, and then the 8 sort of target conditions or habits he'd need to have if he's going to have the best shot at getting drafted to the MLB. So this is a 15-year-old kid in high school, an individual, right? Not a team, not a business, just a person that says, I have a dream. There's something I want to achieve in my life. And this is my goal for myself. And these are the things I think I could do within my control. These are the inputs. And if I do those things, I have a shot at it, right? And his dream came true. He's now won World Series, and he's also probably ranked, he could be ranked number one baseball player of all time based on his records in pitching and hitting. He's just amazing, right? So there's an example of a lot of the tools in here. They're more about having a clear goal. It doesn't even have to be your forever goal. It can just be have any goal, whether it's for this month, next year, 10 years down the line. It could be a seemingly impossible goal where it's like, it's maybe not achievable, but it'll always give you a sense of clear direction and why you're there, right? But if you can break anything down, I think one of the books I read recently was Will Smith's memoir, where he talks about the brick wall that he had to build as a kid with his brother. And it was just a seemingly impossible task for these kids, right? And they ended up kind of all the way through the summer having to build this brick wall and getting stuck on things. And their dad was like, there is no wall. There's nothing to worry about this whole wall. There's just one brick. You just lay this one brick. Once you lay that one brick perfectly, just pick up another brick and lay that one brick perfectly. And you can lay one brick. That's all you need to do. So the 64 chart is sort of like that with the brick wall. You're really breaking it down into 64 bricks. What are the 64 bricks you need to build that wall to help you achieve your goal?
So Kyle, the challenge, I think, though, for some chambers, to Steve's point, is that they want to do that, but they are also doing payroll and they're processing AR and they're trying to increase revenue and they've got the mayor wanting to meet with them. And it feels like a lot when you're a small chamber because those competing priorities are every single day and they build up. And I'm sure it's the same with larger chambers too. We're a mid-sized chamber. But so if you were to sit down with a chamber leader tomorrow and they said, Kyle, help me, highlight the parts of the book because we want everyone to go out and buy this book, obviously. But what 3 steps or 3 tools would you say to them? If you start here, I guarantee you by the end of the year, you'll be in a different place than you are today.
Mm-hmm. I guess there's 2 approaches. Usually I would start with the scorecard. Just do the scorecard, spend 5-10 minutes on the scorecard, go through the 30 focus areas and just rank which things are not on your radar, you don't do at all, have never done.
Yeah.
To that they are completely 100% taken care of. You are completely on top of them. That would score a 5 out of 5, right? So you just go through that tool in 5 or 10 minutes. You'll just identify what are the areas that there's opportunities to improve in. And then you choose, kind of like what Stephen kind of referred to with the book. It's kind of a choose your own adventure. Yeah. If you identify zone 2, focus area 3 is the weakest point that you feel would have the greatest impact for you to improve, you just jump to that page and look at that one chapter, read about the focus area, get some insights on my perspective and aha moments that we've had related to that, and what tool do we use to help any organization improve that area. So it can be just that choose your own adventure, pick one thing and implement one tool a quarter or implement one tool a month if you want to be really aggressive.
I love that idea because I think that they can then work with their boards on that, as part of their executive director or their CEO report. They can use the book to say that this is what we're deficient in. So let's fix it, right? And here's what we're going to do. So they've got things that they can work on on a granular level day to day, but then report back to their board so that they can see progress year over year.
Another free resource we have on the website, the fraction.com website, there's a scorecard there. Everybody go there for no cost, no obligation, fill out the scorecard electronically, and then they get themselves emailed those results back. So that they could review together as a group, as a board, or as a whatever. And it's like, okay, what did everyone score for this? And what did everyone's top 3, what everyone's bottom 3 or whatever, and decide as a group which one do we want to start with.
Yeah. You know what? It's almost like a little internal strategic plan that you can do, right? So that you can use your stakeholders that way, like have your board report on it. I use the scorecard, but I filled it out really little. You need people who are not in their 50s, Kyle, reading this book. I need it.
The online scorecard are the way to go. Yeah.
It's for the spaces. Yeah.
I like it. So we want to utilize the scorecard and then the choose your own adventure. Find the areas that you're deficient in or that you'd like to improve in. Love the choose your own adventure for kids that grew up in the 70s. Do you guys have choose your adventure books?
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
I've been through those. Yeah.
I love those. Those are great.
I built one in ChatGPT for Christmas for people for holidays. Like it was a 10-step holiday adventure guide. So what's the gift? What do you have in your pockets? And then you had 2 choices every time
That's cool.
at every step of the way. So yeah, got carried away. Going back to unless you had something else, Melanie, but I'm curious, like, is that something that you constantly use, Kyle? Like those scorecards, like what are you constantly kind of working on? What's your go-to models that you've continuously practice
so it kind of start with what you feel you need to focus on for the greatest impact for you personally as an individual or as an organization. And once you feel like you've started adopting some things and you're ready to take on more, it can get to a point where you could refer to the Refraction Pathway rhythm that we have in the book. So we basically give away our cadence of everything that we do on our annual strategic planning session, our quarterly session, our monthly review, weekly, daily, and then the tools and focus areas that are left over are just pulled in when we score them low. And we'll look at the scorecard every quarter or every year, depending on which company we're talking about. And it just identifies these are the things that we use to make sure that our annual plan is done. Every quarter we review to make sure our annual plan is still relevant, no tweaks needed. On a monthly basis, we're just making sure that we're updating our 64 chart. We're reviewing what are we getting done this month, who's doing what. We have some 64 charts that are a whole 64 chart for a quarter, which means there's 64 things that we want to try to get done this quarter. There's other 64 charts that are a year. It's like, what 64 things do we want to get done this year? You can have a 64 chart that's a 3-year or 5-year kind of vision and goal. So the scope and the timeline of how much you want to get done is really personalized to what is relevant to you. So if you're one person, if you're a team of 4 or a team of 40, you might just scale it that way. Or you could have a 64 chart if you're larger for each department, for example.
Yeah.
Right. But the cadence, like by using that, is really helpful. And there's certain tools that are used day to day, right? So I have a daily diary that I use, and I focus on particular areas in it. For example, what is the top priority or top priorities for today? And I'll often refer to the 64 chart that we potentially built 6 months ago or whatever it was, right? Or updated it and just scan it for the ones that are color coded that I was going to work on or color coded for this month. And I'll just then pull in, okay, that's the next thing that I'll focus on, because every day can get so busy. And I think that's one of the biggest things today is that most people are extremely busy, or everyone seems to be busy, but no one really knows what anyone else is working on, right? So to create that alignment, if you have a shared tool, like as simple as just doing a 64 chart once a year and then review it together once a month, at least you're on the same track of, okay, everyone's saying, well, I didn't do anything, or everyone's saying, yeah, check that one off, check that one off, check that off. Here's what I'll do next. Here's what I'm going to do next, right? And just work it that way so that you're making sure that you're all working on the right things, because everyone has what feel urgent emails, phone calls, things that pop into your head. It's like, oh yeah, I meant to do that. How important is it, right? So in making sure that you have some sense of that. And other tools that we're using kind of on a regular basis would be the AHA board of anything that we're learning. Like we are trying to build a culture of continuous learning. So we have a little book club that we do, and we pick 2 to 3 books a month that we'll read and review whatever aha moments we found from those books, and we'll review those aha boards once a week if there's anything new. Our MOSI is our My One Small Improvement. So anytime something kind of goes off a little bit, not the way you anticipated it to go, is there anything you can try differently? And just document what went wrong, what are you trying, what happened. And we're not expecting everything to be fixed and everything to be prevented, but then there's also an opportunity once a week, once a month, depending on the size of organization. People have the opportunity to share any MOSI they did of here's something that went wrong, here's what I tried, and here's the result. And someone might be like, that's amazing. I have that problem all the time. I never thought of that to fix it, right? It can be really, really small things.
We call it in
Yeah, I like that model.
sorry, say it again, Stephen.
That small improvement one, I really like that one. That was a really approachable one.
Well, because it doesn't feel like a criticism, right? We call it a get better opportunity. So we have a get better part of our staff agenda where it's not that it
Oh,
was
that's cool.
bad, it was just that could we improve on it, right? Is there something that for next time that we would tweak it so that it's even more impactful?
And that one actually came out of us kind of doing it wrong. And maybe it works in some companies the way that we were doing it, but we had a form for people to fill out that had like 7 fields to fill in, right? You didn't have to know the solution, but just to identify a problem. If you think you have an idea what to try, you can write it in, and it would go to the executive committee to review every week and identify which ones to approve or not, right? We had a backlog of, I think, 60 ideas to improve that we just never got around to saying yay or nay, right? So we decided we're forgetting about that approval process. Just use your judgment. If you think something could be fixed, go ahead and try something. The only thing we ask you to document is what was wrong, what did you try, what happened. Just those 3 things. Just
That leads me to my next question. So you talk a lot about control versus scale in the book, which I love, right? Because chamber leaders can get stuck in the weeds because they're kind of forced to sometimes. And I think it does attract a certain personality of let's just get it done and type A's. So how do you coach people to implement to take away that control factor, let people kind of live their lives so that they can scale up? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
yeah. So one of the things you mentioned the word coaching. So we do in the moment. So we used to have annual employee reviews, right? Where we would once a year talk about the year and how did it go, what things you could improve and the scores that we'd make. And
2 out of 5. Yeah.
there's no way that anyone can remember the details.
Yeah.
And there's no way that that annual review is helping anyone in the moment when they needed help, right? So we went to in the moment coaching and weekly coaching so that you have someone that we're coaching on a weekly basis. You're getting to know them better. You're getting to understand their dreams and their hopes and their goals. Sometimes you learn a lot about the things that are going on even outside of work that could be impacting the way they feel or the way they're performing. And it helps you understand what they're going through and feel empathy properly and identify like, are there opportunities of how can we help this person feel fulfilled and perform better knowing what we know. And unless you're having those weekly calls or meetings, and they feel like you're approachable and mistakes or errors or things that you're afraid of are going to be embraced as opposed to like made fun of or put down or shot down for. So it's kind of building a culture of like, we're all here as a team. We're all here to support each other, ensure that everyone is performing the best, which also leads to finding sometimes there's not everyone belongs. Not everyone wants to be there. Not everyone is in the right role. Maybe you need to move them around within the organization or maybe help them find the right organization that they are supposed to be in, right? And once you have really great people around you, you realize the job gets easier and more fun for everybody else around them because you've got high talent density throughout all the team that's there. Everyone understands their role. There's alignment on what everyone's doing, understanding what the goal is and what we're trying to achieve together, and everyone's working on the right things. And there's a sense of that contribution and alignment that's there.
Well, how does that coaching lead to not feeling like you're micromanaging them? Is it
Yeah,
because you're guiding them through decisions or?
it's probably outside of coaching. So coaching would be helping someone identify what area they could improve on and giving them suggestions about what they could try. Something that in the book I talk about control versus scale, hero as well as another thing there as well versus coach. I was going in and I was helping people. I thought I was helping people by going in and saying, oh, I've done this before. I've done this 100 times. All you need to do is this. Or here, let me do this for you. I'll show you how it's done so that you know how to do it next time or whatever, right? But typically it's in the moment, it's like, oh, client's not happy. Or, oh, we're late on a deadline. We need to get this done quickly. So I put urgency ahead of considering how important the long term is instead of the short term. So I was always putting the short term as a priority ahead of the long term. So I ended up going in and kind of fixing everything for people. And I wasn't being a good coach. I wasn't being a good leader. I wasn't enabling them to grow and even fail. right? I was trying to prevent them from experiencing the pain of failure or experiencing the pain of a client not being happy that something's taking too long or not as good as they expect it to be. Where I experienced those things like 25 years ago or 30 years ago, right? But I wasn't letting anyone else experience those things. So I ended up sort of numbing all of our people, where they would take it to 70%, show it to me, I would finish it up or tell them what they needed to do, and everyone stopped trying and giving it 100%. Not everybody, but the majority started coasting. But it was a response to the way that I had been treating them for years, where I was not enabling them to rise up and take challenges and fail and learn from those mistakes, right? So I thought I was helping, and that was the hero part in the book that I talk about, and saying that was really holding everything back and preventing scalability, even because if I'm the boss and I'm going in and doing everyone's job or doing the last finishing touch on everything, no one ever got the sense of completion or satisfaction or fulfillment or contribution, because I was the one finishing everything all the time. So, and I'm kind of putting broad strokes on it, but that was a main issue, which again, that insight on those, the way that I was as a leader. And again, I learned this from having a mentor and having a coach and having a role model and getting these external perspectives shared with me that I couldn't see because I was too close to it. But when I would ask them about certain issues that I was experiencing, they're like, well, are you doing this or are you doing that? So
I feel seen. I feel like I'm like on that last mile, and it's interesting because we feel like we're linking arms and supporting, but you're right. If you don't ever feel that completion or the joy of a great job done, then
and as a result, I was stuck. I was keeping myself stuck in the business because I wasn't enabling people to take care of it, and then that would release me to work on the things that they couldn't do that I should be doing. Mm-hmm. So again, if it is a chamber that has one person or eventually has 1.5 or 2 or 3, like to enable like people that come in and join the team, enable them and empower them to take those things on, take them off your plate so that you're able to do the things that you're finding you should be doing, and it's greater value of your time.
Aha moment. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll be right back on my aha board.
the dynamics of delegating and properly delegating and whatnot. So you talk, maybe can you help align a little bit more of like the short-term wins, those short-term goals versus that whole long-term scope? You kind of brushed a little bit on that, like making sure that you've got that end target in mind, but you're making sure that you've got all those little steps loading up to make sure you get there. Especially for, again, smaller chambers, it could be difficult. Boards are always coming up with new ideas at a board table, and then you kind of maybe get distracted. How do you keep those focuses kind of on target?
Well, and again, for me, I feel it is at least defining what's the purpose, what's the goal, measuring how success is measured by all of the stakeholders that we're referring to, right? If we're all measuring it the same way, right? Is success measured on how many events did we have, or is it how many people bought tickets to events, or is it that we sent out 500 invites to our event and we got a conversion rate that was higher than a conversion rate last year over year? Like, what is the things that matter right now? And a lot of the times, and I'm the worst for this, I think, I'm always coming up with new ideas. I could launch another business, or I could add another product, and I work with Marina on a lot of these things. And Marina is my filter, right? Where if I come with a lot of great ideas and a lot of ideas that are maybe not so great, she can ground me and say, okay, this is what we're focused on this year, this quarter, this month, this day, right? And is that thing more important than these other things that we previously identified were priorities? So if we have a 64 chart, or if we have a top priorities for the week, or even a way of evaluating things that come up, is it something that only I can do? Is it something that could be delegated? Is it something that aligns and is going to support us achieving our goal? or is it actually not going to be helping, right? So sometimes you need some kind of a system or method or process to follow that helps you do that. And if a board member or someone comes to you to say, hey, we really think you should think about doing this now, you hopefully have the confidence and the way to back it up to say, that's a great idea. We'll put it on the roadmap to consider for next year, or we'll consider it as a prioritization when we review next quarter or whatever, right? Operationally, does it make sense for us to what are we going to stop doing to add that, right?
So if you as the executive director or as the team and or the board, but everybody probably has to come on together to either fill that out or approve it or understand the 64 chart or whatever goals that you're setting. If you have that to reference, right, as something tangible, say, well, like, what do we drop, right? Or how do we fit that in with these already major pillars or boulders or key priorities that we've already set? Yeah, right.
And one of the things that I think talk about process documentation in the book as well is like starting with just document the way you do it now. So don't come up with something new, just document the way you do it now. And then any idea, like the My One Small Improvement, is there anything there that you would cut or change or add or change the order of to just make things just a little bit better than they were right now? So you can do the same thing with a 64 chart. You can identify what is the current state today, like what are all the things that we do and what's our goal right now. Just document, this is the current state 64 chart. This is just everything that we're doing. And it could be potentially a tool that's used to share with the board to say, hey, we just kind of documented everything that we're doing or what I'm doing if I'm a one-person organization. And I feel like there's too much on my plate, right? Maybe I don't need a 64 chart. Maybe I need a 24 chart or whatever, right? And the thought could be is maybe they've never talked about what is the goal, or what does success look like, right? And is success having a good, productive day? Is success signing up 100 members in the year? Like, how is success actually measured, right? So, and what is the definition of the word success for everyone involved in the stakeholders, right? Like, success should be, how do we want to feel and what might happen to make us feel that way, as opposed to what are the targets that we have, which we maybe have no control over those outputs, whether it's revenue, number of members, whatever. You don't have any control over that, right? Because those are all outputs. But what you do have control over is, okay, well, how are we going to increase engagement? Or how are we going to increase frequency? Or how are we going to increase value? And maybe those are things that we can come up with ways to be measured on what activities we're doing, what inputs we're doing, as opposed to being measured by the outputs.
Well, and my favorite saying is money follows vision and value. So if your vision and value are aligned and you focus on those every single day, it's on my big board in front of me, the rest come. You still track your metrics. I track number of people coming to events so that we can tell that we're trending upwards, or more importantly, I can see if we're trending downwards. We track our social media month over month, and of course membership. But at the end of the day, I don't care if I have 100 or 500 members. It's about having, I mean, I do, I'm not gonna lie. Don't tell my board that. But for me and my board, we've determined that revenue is what is going to allow us to increase engagement. So if we can increase revenue over a 3-year plan, and that's what our strat plan was, we can then have the appropriate staff in place to really amplify our members' value. And relevancy of the chamber for them, and it really seems to be working, and people have taken notice, so it's been good that way.
I just mentioned this to you before a moment before, but I was reading. I finished this book called Working Backwards. It was one of my December books, and it talks about the Amazon flywheel and the way that there's not a low importance on the output metrics. The output metrics are important, but what's more important is understanding and focusing on the input metrics you can control and what input metrics impact output metrics, and being able to understand that those output metrics then again fuel the input metrics the way that you just said. So if you have more revenue, you can do more activity, right?
Yeah. Okay, so this is the question for you as a triple board member. You're like the triple threat for boards. So besides membership, because I think a lot of boards focus on membership growth, and we all know that that's not an indicator of success, maybe retention. But what do you think when you look overall at trends that are happening in this crazy world we're in today? What do you think chambers should be focusing on over the next, let's say, 5 years? Where should they be putting their efforts?
I believe it would be on internal skill set, internal talent, the culture of learning, continuous improvement, experimenting and predicting things as opposed to setting targets or goals. Like just building an environment where the people want to be there, the right people are there, they have a system to follow, so they're always doing the right things and continually making every day better than the next. And the rest will take care of itself. Kind of like you said, like the revenue will follow, right? Having the vision is great, but it's not enough. Having the strategy is great. It's not enough. You need the right people. You need a system to follow that everyone's doing the right things. So again, I feel like the scorecard, picking one thing to focus on and get it implemented until it feels like, okay, that's a habit that we've now adopted, and then decide, okay, what can we improve next? And just have a culture of just constantly trying to make things better. Do you have a question?
No, I was just going to say systems, I think, are really impactful. And I think we lose sight of that in smaller teams because we're just trying to get the work done, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's something you can work on as a team, and then everybody, and then you can show some vulnerability as a leader because you can acknowledge, like, hey, listen, we don't do this so great. So let's figure out how to do it better.
Yeah, and I think that if there is a sense of always wanting to do better, whether it's a one-person team or greater, having that sense of always wanting to find a way to do something just a little bit better each time, having a way to document it that's very low friction, that's just super easy, that's critical as well, which again goes from what we used to have people do with a form to fill out, then it needs to be approved by someone senior, and then it gets implemented in some way and it's always different, to just removing all the red tape or just enabling people and empowering people to just do something and give them a very small task to do that's very achievable and easy to do. And it's also leading by example. So expect that people are going to follow the leader of, if someone new joins and there's a way of doing things there, people will easily adopt those ways. But if you grow without any systems and then try to implement systems with people that didn't have any systems, it's a really difficult uphill climb. But if you just are one person or two or three people and you actually want to make a big impact and enjoy what you're doing and lean into your strengths and find ways to feel like you're constantly getting better and you're growing personally and professionally, like creating that environment for yourself, you need to want to grow, or you need to want to feel like you're contributing to something that you care about. And if you do, then more likely you're going to build a culture or an environment where people are going to, I think one of the examples in the book that I use is kind of like, I don't remember the actual thing, but it was like if you're a plant or a garden or a flower, right? If you, the leader, are sunshine, and your rays of sunshine, your energy and warmth and all these things, people are going to grow around you, and people are also going to be sunshine for others. If you are casting shadows and there's toxicity or ego or other things that are not great, other people are also going to adopt those traits and those habits because that just seems like the way it is here, right? So you're going to just foster more of that, right? So it is really comes down to people leading by example. You don't need 100% of the people to adopt. You can have one person doing it and just slowly showing the outputs that come from the inputs that they're putting in. People might be like, oh, I was a little bit unsure about this, but this person seems happy and this person seems really productive and is doing some great things. Maybe I'll ask them, what are they doing? And maybe that'll get me in. So that's what we found at larger organizations, is just allow the people that are the early adopters to adopt early and do it, and let the others fall in. So that's maybe a thought on that.
I love it. Perfect. I think that's a great kind of spot to pause. That's a fantastic way to kind of end it, as a great analogy like that. Kyle, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I feel like we've only gotten like, you know, barely into this, but that was, oh, there you go. Yeah, thanks, Kyle. There's so much in the book, models, wisdoms, those aha moments, which have left, Melanie and I inspired, and I would imagine anybody else that picks up the book as well. But thank you for all of your, sharing your insights on leadership and processes and systems and stuff. And I feel like through this whole thing, this is the first step. Here's a first step. Start here, start there, like defining success, set your goals, making all hands on deck kind of approach to things. Fill out your scorecard, do the 64 chart. There's like anybody could start anywhere, but this is fantastic. But I guess also too, if anybody does fill out a 64 chart, it can get you to the World Series or your version of the World Series, as we know, right? That's super cool.
Yeah. And anyone's goal, no matter whether it's little league or the majors, it's your goal, right?
Whatever it is, yeah, it'll get you there. Cool. Well, thank you so much again, Kyle. Thanks everyone for listening, tuning in, watching. Thanks, Melanie, for being here and a partner on this one. Appreciate you all. And that was another Chamber Connection. Catch you next time.
Thanks.
Great.